David, you won the award for Best Enzo Era Restored Ferrari. And he just goes, you gotta be shitting me. One of the funnest things that I've done recently with the Ferrari Club is go to the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. And that was an event that I've been trying to go to for, I don't know, probably 10 years and just always had a schedule conflict. I think it's Henley Park, downtown Pittsburgh, and it's this little park road, and they shut it down and put together a race course, a true road course as road racing used to be on public streets. And they limit the speeds and they limit the horsepower, displacement, etc. of the cars that are running. So it's not, true high-speed racing, but it's a lot of fun to see people out there ripping vintage cars around. I signed up with the Ferrari Club to do their kind of curated experience, which I always say that if you go to a weekend or week-long car event, the best way to do it is to do it with friends and to do it with people that know the event. So the Ferrari Club put together this thing where they rented out an entire bed and breakfast, and they had events planned out. So they rented a charter bus to go to the hangar party the night before, and had all these drives set up and tours, and it was way more fantastic than if I just waltzed into the event and tried to figure things out and figure out what was happening. The Ferrari Club guys are no stranger to having fun, partying like college kids, and that was proved because on the way back from the hangar party, which almost became quite interesting because there was a massive thunder and lightning storm and a whole bunch of priceless cars outside, some of which didn't have tops, so everybody was scrambling to move them. But we had our share of libations, and we were pretty liquored up. But on the way back to the hotel, we decided to stop and buy more liquor for partying once we got back to the hotel. And we pulled into a gas station and found out that in Pennsylvania, gas stations can't sell liquor. It has to be an authorized distributor or whatnot. And so we found a liquor store that was still open, and we pull up in this tour bus. And it reminded me of my days in youth leadership of pulling up to the McDonald's with 2 buses full of kids and seeing the employees just go, oh no, our life's about to suck. And the look that we got from the cashier of the liquor store was exactly that. We pull up, a bunch of adults pile out, and you just see this. So we're going in, raiding the shelves and all that. Get back to the hotel and just, have a grand old night. No hangovers. What are you talking about? But kind of pinnacle of the event, other than the racing, was the Cortile della Corsa, which was the featured kind of judged car show that was part of the event. So at the event, there's just acres and acres of parking, and you have throughout the place, you have different marques, different clubs. So they have the British area, they have the Corvette area, which is full of just one of one, very rare Corvettes, C5s and C6s, BMW club area. But at the featured marque this year was Ferrari. I, in true form, took my Lamborghini Diablo so I could be the black sheep of the group. But they had a judged event, and there were some really, really great cars and some not so great cars. And a friend of ours, David Tarditi, who is the local chapter president or head or something like that. Anyway, he's just a hilarious guy, but he loves buying kind of Ed Bolian quality cars. So one of his first Ferraris that I remember was a white 355 Spider that he bought from, it had been owned by a rental company in South Florida, which I told him was a terrible idea. And it had a receipt for a recent major service, which was found to be fraudulated, which is my Michael Scott word that I've made up recently. So it was all sorts of disastrous. He had black duct tape holding the convertible top together, so it at least matched the top, but it was duct tape. So we, no end of making fun of him for that, but he loved it, and that was the important part. He just loved driving that car. So he had a similar quality Ferrari Dino 308 GT4 at this event. And, even the world's best 308 GT4 is kind of at the bottom of the pecking order for Ferraris. Maybe totally at the bottom. Arguably, like a 400 automatic or, an early Mondial. They're all kind of right there. But a 308 GT4 2+2 is not a pretty car and not an expensive car. So he had a very mediocre example of one there that he had driven there. It was leaking oil the whole way, blowing oil on the back of the car, didn't wash it. The paint was all crazed and cracked. The bolster was worn. It had been repainted probably at least once. It was a true driver's car. In fact, the people driving behind him on the way were complaining that they were, inhaling burning oil fumes. So they couldn't drive too close behind him. I shouldn't say anything. My Diablo was filthy as well, too. Did not wash it before I went on the show field, and it probably hadn't been washed in 2 weeks either. So we're sitting in the lunch in the fancy clubhouse, and the judges come up, and they're announcing the awards. And we're not paying much attention because none of us are in danger of winning anything, except I might win the dirtiest Lamborghini award, but they didn't have such a thing. They say we've added some special classes, one of which was the best Enzo era restored Ferrari. So Enzo era being, any car produced essentially prior to 1989. So when Enzo Ferrari was in charge of the company. They announced this award and we hear David Tarditi, Ferrari Dino 308 GT4. And our entire table just busts out laughing. And of course, we get some glares from the more pretentious crew of Ferrari owners at other tables who are thinking, this is judged awards. This is not a joke. And we're just like, what in the heck happened? Are the judges blind? Like, was his the only one? Like, it's not even restored. Like, this has to be some sort of joke. So David was not at lunch, so he had no idea. And he was nowhere to be found. I go out and I go up to one of the judges and I said, because there was a debate among us, and one of the guys said, oh no, it was the preservation award. I said, no, the preservation award was the next one. This was restored. And so we weren't sure what we heard. And even though I knew I heard restored Ferrari, I'm like, I don't believe it. So I don't believe what I heard. So I went to the judge to confirm. And I was like, hey, can you what was that class again? And he's like, well, let me find the list of the winners. I'm like, I just need to confirm the verbiage of the class. So they pull like one of the more higher up judges and, they bust out the list and they're like, yep, best Enzo era restored Ferrari. I see David Tarditi's name right there. And I'm like, okay, this can't be, but it has to be it. His name is right there. I'm like, are you guys sure about this? Now, I was trying to be as careful as possible because I know that judging a show is a thankless job. And there's a lot of egos and a lot of money competing for these awards that mean nothing, by the way, except they help future value, right? Bragging rights when you go to sell your car. So I'm trying to be as pleasant as possible because I know there's a lot of other people complaining why they didn't win. And I'm like, I'm trying my best, full awareness, knowing that I have RBF. And I found this out because I was at a bar recently trying to order drinks, and the bartender would not pay any attention to me. And this is a common occurrence, and I don't know why. And some lady who was waiting behind me to also order, like, I turned around and I said, I'm sorry, I don't know why I get served. I'm not getting served. And she goes, oh, you probably have RBF. And I'm like, what? She's like, I have the same problem. I can never order. I have to have my husband order. So I was like, okay, let's test this out. I went and grabbed one of the bubbly female members of our band, brought her over. She immediately got served. And I'm like, I figured it out. I've got RBF. This is why people on YouTube don't like me. But it also comes across in my voice. I have a lower voice. And so, like, regardless of how I'm trying to come across, my tone is by default working against me. So I'm trying to be as pleasant as possible, but it is still not working. These judges are ticked off that I'm questioning this award. So the chief judge comes over And he's like, why are you questioning this? I'm like, oh, no reason. I wanted to make sure that you guys were sure that this Dino was the best restored Ferrari. And he goes, well, it's restored, right? And I'm like, no, but you guys think it is. And he looks at me, he goes, it's 100-point car. I'm like, okay, now I know you guys either got the wrong car or you're blind, because this is not happening. So I call up David, and I was like, David, you need to get over here. You won an award. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, David, you won an award. He's like, no, I didn't. David, and I put him on speakerphone. I'm like, and we're all around. I'm like, David, you won the award for Best Enzo Era Restored Ferrari. And he just goes, you gotta be shitting me. And I'm like, yep, that was our thought too. And I'm like, David, you gotta come over here. He's like, no, you guys are playing a prank on me. Like, this is a joke. I'm like, David, this is not, like, this would be a great joke, but we're not joking. Please come over here. He's like, there's no way I won this award. And there's like a couple judges in earshot, like hearing this whole conversation. I'm like, David, I confirmed your name. You are on the list. I mean, like, I actually protested your award. He goes, I would have too. And so we finally get him over there. And he's like trying to find the judges to find out what's going on. And, you know, they had the chief judge and Luigi Cinetti Jr. handing out the awards and taking pictures with the cars and the award winners. So I'm like, this is going to be a really embarrassing situation for them, handing out Best Enzo Era Restored Ferrari to this turd. But then I'm kind of like, this is actually going to be pretty funny and going to make a great picture and a great story. I shouldn't have said anything. You know, he's trying to confirm with all the judges. There's a bunch of confusion. Finally, the judges come over and they're like, we are so sorry. There's been a mistake. They wrote down Dino, and there was only one Dino on the registration list, and it was yours, but it was actually this beautifully restored, you know, 246 GTS. But it wasn't registered as a Dino, it was registered as a 246 GTS. So there was some, you know, between what the judges wrote down as notes, it got matched up to his car, and they're profusely apologizing. And we're like, no, you'd have a lot more apologizing to do to that 246 owner if this happened. Like, we're fine. This is hilarious. This is great. Thank you for the entertainment. We're so sorry. No. You're good. This is fun. Which is ironic because during my protest of his award, one of the judges just looked at me because I was laughing. He's like, this isn't supposed to be funny. I'm like, oh, but it is. You've made it very funny. Sorry you don't get the joke yet, but you'll get it soon. So anyway, David did not end up winning. And then, of course, everybody gave me crap for raising a stink because they said it would have been far funnier if he had actually, you know, pulled up blowing oil smoke out of the back to take his best restored Ferrari award. So he didn't end up winning, but it made just hilarity for all of us. So we ended up getting him a fantastic plaque and a big trophy for almost best Enzo Era, almost restored Ferrari, and presented that to him later on. Now I get to go judge at Odd Rain and hopefully not make the same fool out of myself by getting the wrong car. So that'll be interesting.
If you're ready for your next adventure, you're gonna need the right car, and the best way to buy your next car is with the help of Premier Financial Services. The Simple Lease from Premier Financial is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits of a traditional loan, like the ability to accumulate equity, pay it off at any time, and they give you a perfectly easy to understand amortization table, but you also get the benefits of a lease, the low payment, the flexible terms, the low down payments, but also you get to use some certain tax benefits that leases entitle you to. They've taken great care of me, and I know they'll take great care of you, so check them out now at the link in the description below.